My name is Esperanza Morales, and I was 35 years old when I finally understood that love, when left unchecked, can quietly turn into obligation without consent. It happened over roast chicken, the kind that looks fine on the plate but tastes like it's already given up. My dad lifted his wine glass, barely looked at me, and said, "You should be thankful we even let you in this house." My mom didn't flinch. She just nodded, slow and practiced, like they'd rehearsed it in advance. I took one last bite, chewed carefully, set my fork down, and said, "Duly noted." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just stood up and left, because in that moment, something finally snapped into place. This hadn't come out of nowhere. Their arrogance had been building for over a year, thickening into something heavy and sour. Every conversation felt like a reminder that they believed they were owed something. Owed comfort, owed status, owed recognition. The irony was painful, considering nearly every part of their life was funded by me. But you'd never know it from the way they spoke to me. What triggered the shift was almost laughably small. For the first time in years, I'd asked them for help. Not money, not even anything difficult. Just a few small tasks for the business I'd built from nothing. I was scaling back, tightening operations, being smart. I asked them to help with a package drop-off and a couple emails, things they could do from home or on their drive into town. I thought it might make them feel involved, useful. What I got instead was condescension. They spoke to me like I was some struggling niece they'd allowed to crash on their couch. This was after a decade of me covering their mortgage, utilities, groceries, surprise expenses, and more. I'd paid for their anniversary trip to Santa Barbara last year, and they spent most of it arguing in hotel lobbies because the complimentary breakfast didn't include eggs made to order. Still, I told myself excuses. They're old. They're stressed. I ran out of those excuses faster than I expected. That Sunday dinner was something I hadn't done in a while, and for good reason. The house smelled like old lemon cleaner and cooked onions. Mom set the table. Dad poured wine. The whole thing felt staged, like a sitcom family waiting for the audience to laugh. The chicken was dry. Even the gravy couldn't save it. I was polite. I asked about their week. Then, as casually as I could, I mentioned needing someone to drop off a package for a client on Tuesday. Mom didn't answer. She looked at Dad, and without missing a beat, he put his fork down and said it. "You should be thankful we even let you in this house." I didn't react right away. I just stared at them, wondering if I'd imagined it. Mom nodded again, calm and certain. That's when it hit me. I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was a walking bank account. And somehow, answering a few emails and dropping off one package had convinced them they'd earned the right to lecture me. I took one last bite, stood up, said "duly noted," and left. No yelling, no drama, just done. By Tuesday morning, I logged into the shared account, the one I'd been pouring money into for years. I froze it, marked it for ownership change, notified the bank. Everything stopped. Mortgage payments, utilities, streaming services, grocery deliveries, Mom's car lease, even the $13.99 they paid every month for premium crossword puzzles on her tablet. Gone. I didn't say a word. I let the silence speak. Wednesday morning, they noticed. My phone lit up with missed calls. My dad left a voicemail calling me ungrateful, manipulative, financially abusive. He threatened legal action if I didn't reinstate the account by the end of the day. Legal action from the same people who couldn't buy toilet paper last month without asking me to spot them until Friday. That afternoon, my mom emailed me. Subject line, "Notice of intent." Attached was a PDF she'd clearly downloaded online, claiming I owed them $50,000 for emotional damages and betrayal of familial duty. She ended it by mentioning a lawyer. I didn't reply. I wasn't angry. I was clear. And they had no idea yet how much of their life depended on my silence. By Thursday morning, the unraveling had begun, and all I had done was press pause. By Thursday morning, the unraveling had begun in small, unglamorous ways. Not explosions, not screaming matches, just quiet failures stacking on top of each other until the weight became impossible to ignore. I hadn't touched their passwords. I hadn't hacked anything. I simply let gravity take over. The first sign was the internet. Dad called at exactly 7:12 a.m., which already told me something was wrong. He never called that early unless something inconvenienced him. I didn't answer. He followed with a text. Internet's not working. What's going on? A minute later, the same message, but louder, all caps, as if volume could fix a billing problem. I let both sit on my lock screen. By mid-morning, Mom tried her approach. She left a voicemail that started gentle and ended sharp. She said this had gone too far, that they were devastated, that they didn't understand why I was punishing them. That word again, punishing. Any change they didn't like was punishment. Consequences were a foreign concept to them. Comfort was a birthright. I checked the systems I used to quietly keep their life running. Everything blinked red. Streaming services, cell plans, utilities, grocery deliveries, declined, declined, declined. It wasn't dramatic, just the quiet collapse of convenience. The health insurance situation hit by noon. Dad went to refill a prescription and was told the card on file had expired. It hadn't. I'd removed my card from the family plan 3 weeks earlier and emailed him to update his information. He hadn't bothered. He never thought he needed to. By afternoon, the tone shifted. Dad texted again. "This is a serious matter. You're putting our well-being at risk." It was almost impressive how quickly concern for my well-being had turned into fear for his own. I didn't reply. Then came the email. Not from them. From my brother, Mateo. Subject line, "Fix this now." We hadn't spoken directly in months. He lived with his girlfriend in a rental she paid for and spent most of his time gaming and talking about a personal brand that never seemed to launch. I'd covered one of their rent payments last year when she traveled. He never thanked me. The email was 3 lines. "What you're doing is toxic. They're your parents. We all go through hard times. Be better." No curiosity, no questions, just another demand that I resume the free ride. That night, Dad sent me a photo. Their living room, dark except for the glow of a single candle on the table. Hope this was worth it. It would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. They'd lived so long on my dime that the idea of logging into an account and paying a bill had become beneath them. Somehow I was the villain. But this wasn't vengeance. This was reality correcting itself. I wasn't cutting them off to be cruel. I was letting them stand on their own feet for the first time in years. And yes, it was going to hurt, because they'd never learned to balance, only to lean. They thought this was the end of something. They had no idea it was just the beginning. By Monday, they stopped pretending to be confused. The email arrived mid-morning, formal and cold. It was from Mom, but the tone had shifted completely. No more worried parent language. This read like someone playing lawyer through a free document template. Attached was a PDF titled Formal Demand, Financial Compensation. It accused me of emotional suffering, intentional hardship, and abrupt financial severance. They were seeking $50,000 for moral damages. I stared at the screen, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. The letter ended by offering a discounted settlement of $40,000 if paid within 10 business days, as if they were doing me a favor. I didn't respond. Instead, I started closing doors I'd left open out of habit. The car lease Mom drove was under my name. I called the dealership and told them I would no longer be responsible for future payments. Within 48 hours, the car was flagged for voluntary repossession. She'd get the notice soon. It wouldn't matter. She hadn't made a payment herself in years. Next were the utilities, accounts I'd set up long ago, tied to my credit. I disconnected them. They'd have to start from scratch with credit scores I knew were hovering somewhere between questionable and catastrophic. Cell phones, streaming services, grocery memberships, even their online shopping account. Closed, not paused. Closed. I sent one message, not to them, to Mateo. "Don't contact me again unless it's about something you're paying for yourself." He replied immediately. "Wow, so this is who you are now. Got it." Then he blocked me. I know because my reply bounced. That night, I slept better than I had in months. For the first time, the silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. They wanted to know what life without me looked like. So I gave it to them, system by system, dollar by dollar. And the truth settled in quietly. This wasn't revenge. This was recovery. By Wednesday, the circus added a new act. An email arrived from a man named Anthony Rossi. The subject line read, "Notice of Representation, Morales versus Morales." I stared at it for a long second, convinced it had to be a joke. It wasn't. He claimed to represent my parents in a pending civil matter regarding financial interference and elder mistreatment. The email was dense, stuffed with half-legal phrases that tried very hard to sound intimidating. Psychological distress, abrupt termination of assumed obligations, irreparable harm. It read like someone had fed emotional manipulation into a legal thesaurus and hoped for the best. Still, I looked him up. Anthony Rossi was real. His office sat above a vape shop. He specialized in estate planning and document notarization. His website offered a free, downloadable living will template and proudly noted he'd been licensed in 2004, reinstated in 2017. That told me everything I needed to know. I replied anyway, not for him, for the record. I explained that all financial support provided to my parents had been voluntary and undocumented, that there were no contracts, no agreements, no obligations, that any escalation would be met with complete financial records, payment histories, and evidence of long-term dependency. I ended politely, professionally. He never replied. What followed wasn't peace, it was silence. No calls, no emails, no threats. I knew my family well enough to understand that silence didn't mean surrender. It meant regrouping. Saturday night, around 10:30, a text came in from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, what's the Wi-Fi password again? It took a second to register, then it hit me. Mateo. Apparently, he and his now ex-girlfriend had temporarily moved back into my parents' house. Their rent had gone up. She'd gotten tired of paying while he gamed all day. She left 2 weeks earlier. I heard the details later from a mutual acquaintance. At the moment, all I saw was the irony. He was back under the same roof he used to mock, asking for access to a service I used to pay for. I didn't reply, but I remembered something. Years ago, I'd set up the router myself. Dad never changed the admin credentials, so I logged in. I renamed the network Not Your Network and changed the password to Pay Your Bills 2025. Then I enabled device filtering and locked everything out. 5 minutes later, another text came through. Esperanza, seriously, grow up. This is childish. I didn't answer. This was the same man who once told me to relax when I covered his rent with my emergency fund. Sunday brought something I didn't expect. A call from a man named Ray. He said he supervised logistics for a warehouse outside town and needed someone for an admin role. Scheduling, routing, inventory checks. Not glamorous, but steady. He described it as the kind of job for someone older who needed to get back on the grid. At first, I assumed he'd misdialed. Then I realized what it could be, an exit ramp. I gave him my father's name and number, told him Dad had experience in transport and warehouse coordination. I didn't oversell it, I didn't make promises. I just handed off the opportunity, not out of kindness, out of strategy. If Dad took the job, he'd have structure, a reason to wake up before noon. Ray thanked me and said he'd call Monday. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anyone. After that, I blocked Mateo's number, deleted the shared family calendar, canceled the extra cloud storage plan I'd been paying for, and logged out of every account that had ever tethered us together. They wanted independence. I gave it to them. Uncomfortable, inconvenient, unsubsidized. By Monday afternoon, the messages changed. Shorter, less angry, more confused. It had been a week since I pulled the plug. I hadn't spoken to any of them since the lawyer email. The first sign came indirectly. Mom messaged a mutual contact, not knowing I still spoke to her. Do you know if Esperanza changed the card on our phones? Mine won't work, and the store says it's unpaid. That was true. The family phone plan had been under my account. 4 lines. I shut it down after a 5-day grace period. They were officially disconnected unless they opened new accounts and paid deposits themselves. Later that night, an email arrived from Dad. Sent from a work email I didn't recognize. Subject line, call me. I didn't open it, just seeing it was enough. I checked in with Ray. He said Dad had agreed to come in for a trial shift later that week. He asked if he should follow up. I told him yes. That was all I cared about. That night, Mom called from a friend's phone. No yelling, no tears. She said they were considering selling the house, that things had become unstable, that they couldn't live like this. Then she said something that stuck with me. We thought family was unconditional. That's when it clicked. They'd never been abandoned. They just didn't recognize boundaries. For years, I'd paid to keep them comfortable, and they'd mistaken that for love. Now that the money was gone, they confused absence with cruelty. They still thought this was punishment. They didn't see that this was the first honest version of our relationship in years. And for the first time, I felt calm. A week after Mom's voicemail about selling the house, the noise finally stopped. No more late-night texts from unfamiliar numbers. No accidental emails that started with sorry, wrong contact, and ended with guilt. No voicemails that pretended concern while fishing for leverage. The silence settled in fully this time. Not tense, not waiting, just there. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't mourn it either. It felt like the quiet that comes after you shut a door you should have closed years ago. Then Ray emailed me. Short message, straight to the point. He said my dad had shown up early for the trial shift, wearing a wrinkled button-down and carrying a plastic folder stuffed with resumes printed on cheap paper. Ray said he didn't talk much. He listened. He worked. He asked about the pay schedule and whether overtime was possible. That part surprised me. I'd expected excuses, complaints, something about dignity. Instead, Dad finished the shift without incident. Ray said he could start the following Monday if he wanted. I didn't reply to Ray. I didn't need to. That chapter was already closed. Whether Dad showed up for week 2 or disappeared again wasn't my responsibility anymore. I'd offered one last nudge toward stability, not reconciliation. As for Mateo, I heard through a mutual friend that he was back in his childhood bedroom, still gaming, still venting online about betrayal and fake family. His ex-girlfriend had blocked him everywhere. Apparently, he'd started telling people I'd cut him off after getting rich and forgetting who helped me. The story didn't stick. Even the people who used to believe him stopped replying. Mom was harder to track. She'd probably started asking neighbors for rides, maybe picked up some cleaning work, maybe finally dipped into the emergency savings she always insisted didn't exist. Or maybe she didn't. Either way, I didn't intervene. I kept getting small reminders of the life I'd stepped away from. Old payment confirmations, resurfacing in email archives, a shared calendar alert I forgot to delete, an app suggesting I call Dad for Father's Day. I ignored them all. The truth surprised me. I didn't hate them. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was finished. There's a difference. For the first time in years, my mind had room. No spreadsheets tracking someone else's expenses. No late-night calculations about who needed what before morning. I slept through the night. I worked better. I spent money on things that didn't evaporate into someone else's chaos. They thought I needed them to be whole. They never realized I became whole the moment I stopped trying to fix people who didn't want to change. It had been 3 months since I cut contact. I didn't keep count. Healing doesn't announce itself. It just settles in quietly, like a new habit you don't realize you've formed until you look back. Most days, I didn't think about them at all, not out of bitterness, just because there was finally space for other things. Then Shannon messaged me. She still lived near my parents. She said Dad was still working. More than that, he seemed steady, focused. He'd been moved into a more organized role, logistics tracking. Nothing impressive, just reliable. A few days later, she added that Mom had started selling things. Kitchenware, old clothes, handmade items online. Shannon even saw her hosting a garage sale one Saturday, a folding table in the driveway with a cardboard sign that said $1 items. Mom looked tired, but grounded, less sharp around the edges. I didn't reach out. The envelope arrived the following week. Thick, no return address, just my name written carefully across the front. Inside were 4 letters, all handwritten. The first was from Dad, short, direct, no apologies, no dramatics. He wrote that he didn't know what he'd been leaning on until it wasn't there anymore. That working again felt strange, but good. That the space had forced him to look at himself. The second letter was from Mom. Longer, emotional, full of underlined words and careful phrasing. She said the silence felt cruel at first, then clarifying. She admitted she'd confused dependence with closeness. She said she was trying to live in a way that didn't rely on kindness, without respecting it. The third letter was from Mateo. Messy handwriting, crossed out sentences. He admitted he thought I'd cut him off out of hatred. He said realizing it was about accountability hurt more than anger would have. He mentioned a part-time job at a car wash. It was exhausting. He got paid every Friday. No one had to cover him. He said it felt strange. In a good way. He didn't ask for anything. The last letter wasn't from family, it was from Ray. He thanked me for the referral. He said Dad had become someone people ask questions to, someone dependable. He said not many people would have given him that chance. That letter stayed with me the longest. I didn't reply to any of them. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes closure doesn't come from a conversation. It comes from change that happens without you having to manage it. I kept the letters, not as trophies, as proof that silence can be productive, that boundaries can teach what words never could. I don't know what our relationship will look like in the future. Maybe nothing, maybe something quieter. But I do know this. The only thing I had to do to reclaim my life was stop, let go, and finally rest.